Hey, New Patient Group Nation. Welcome inside the broadcast booth. Brian right here, and welcome to Season 3, Episode number 12. Final episode for you today. We're all coming off a pretty crazy year and wanted to get some thoughts together to kind of do a year in review, but also leave you with kind of a specific message that I have to entrepreneurs out there that I've been teaching for a long time and kind of the theme, the overall arching theme of today is you never know who's watching, you never know who's listening. I'm going to tell a couple stories that have happened to me. One happened to me just last week, very recently. Another one happened to me many years ago, and there's a lot of examples I could do. There's a lot of things that I could tell stories about today, but I'm going to talk about two in particular because I want you to leave with a mindset and something you can think about for the rest of the year to start collecting your thoughts on how to jumpstart really the rest of your career, the rest of your business life, let's call it, into something really special, whether you be trying to create your own personal brand out there, whether it be you trying to increase your business's brand or a combination of both. I think one of the things that we teach, I think today when I talk to you about these stories, I think that inevitably is really going to help motivate and inspire you to want to do these things differently moving into the new year and beyond. We're going to have a brand new Season 4, Episode 1, to get your year kicked off. That's going to launch at 8 a.m. Central on January 1st. Matter of fact, I've already shot that episode. So I'm excited to come out with that one. It's going to be called Ready, Shoot, Aim. So a little bit backwards than what you've probably heard of before. And it talks about some entrepreneur success strategies in regards to implementation. But that will get your year kicked off in a great way. What I want you to do for the rest of this year, though, is kind of sit back, think inside your head, reflect on this year, and then combine it with this message you're going to learn today. And I think it's going to refresh your mindset because it's been a weird year for all of us and really get you kicked off in the right direction for 2021. Okay? Before we get started, let's fire up the music.
Welcome to the New Patient Group Podcast, where doctors, office managers, and other healthcare professionals learn how to thrive in today's competitive marketplace by mastering the business, consumer, and marketing aspects of the practice. If you want to make more money, dominate the competition, while working, spending, and stressing less, this podcast is for you. Now, your host. He is the leading authority in the new era of practice growth, founder and CEO of New Patient Group, managing partner of RightChat, speaker and consultant for Align Technology, the makers of Invisalign, author for the Benson Koppel Resource, international motivational speaker, business and life coach, Brian Wright.
Everybody, welcome inside the broadcast booth. Hope you're doing good out there. Hope the week's going great. Hope you have great Christmas plans out there. Spend a lot of time with friends and family. Boy, I don't know about all you. I mean, I love to work. I'm so devoted and passionate about it, but man, you get to Christmas, especially we have younger kids. So this time of year, having a 5 and 3-year-old is just so magical. It's so great. And just seeing how into Christmas they are and just the Santa thing and everything is just so rewarding that it makes it harder and harder to concentrate and to do content. It doesn't make it hard to concentrate on the clients, but it does make it harder to block the time to shoot content like this. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do today's episode to kind of wrap up a year in review is because we all have our crazy lives, right? Whether it be your business life, your personal life, a combination of both. We all have our reasons not to do stuff. And we tell each other, and this is kind of Season 4, Episode 1 that's going to be launching, like I said, on the front end, January 1st at 8 a.m. Central Time. It's going to pick up on this theme. Today's episode is not all about this at all. It's just thoughts come to my mind as I chat. It's, we have these things that we convince ourselves are reasons why we're not doing stuff. And it could be whatever, getting extra work from to become an even better clinician, the clinical training. It could be shooting content. It could be training employees, whatever it might be, spending more time with our wife or our kids. Like we have all these reasons that we convince ourselves it can't be done. And I want to bring up the reason I talk about that is today I'm going to be talking about some stories that have happened in my career And they're very impactful. They're very real. They're very impactful, and they've really changed. One of them that happened quite a long time ago really changed the direction of New Patient Group and just my career on the orthodontic dentistry side of things. Really unlike anything that I had ever experienced in my life. And that story I'm going to combine with one that just happened recently at one of our clients, Dr. Skopak's practice, just last week. And the reality of the situation is these stories are very impactful for me personally to help inspire and want to talk about them, to inspire you out there that no matter what you have going on in your life, there are certain things that you must do that are absolutely worth it on the business side of things. And, a shout out, it's been a crazy year. And I think part of Christmas time, holiday time, should be spent reflecting on that. I think a lot of you out there, and I see it because we've had about 80% of New Patient Group clients have their largest revenue year ever. I have people outside of the New Patient Group family, when I talk to them about that, they're flabbergasted because, the orthodontic industry is a flatlined industry as is. Forget COVID. If you look at the 2019 stats, the industry didn't grow, and it hasn't been growing. Clear aligners are the only thing that have experienced any kind of growth in orthodontics now for quite a while. And my theory, there's a lot of reasons for that. My theory is simple as that as a group, things are just done in an outdated way in terms of how people view and how they just go about growing their business. It's just done in a way that worked 5 or 10 years ago and beyond, where I'm the best clinician in town, I'm going to open my doors, and that's enough. And that's how it should be in a perfect world. But as you all know, especially the avid listeners out there, that's no longer the case. If you're a resident in school and you think learning from the clinicians that you're learning from, the professors, is going to inevitably result in you being successful, you're in for a very, very rude awakening whenever you leave school and go open up a practice yourself. Or you go work for somebody else in order to open up a practice yourself someday. Flat out, you're going to get your butt kicked. You are not going to be successful if you don't think outside the box and do things differently. I don't think there's enough people as a collective whole that think that way, and I think that's why there's such stagnated growth in orthodontics. And honestly, there's stagnated growth in a lot of healthcare professions, not just orthodontics. There's stagnated growth in a lot of them. But this overall arching theme of why I wanted to tell you the stories today is inevitably because I want you over the course of the rest of this year to really think to yourself, what am I going to do to set myself up for success moving forward in my career? How am I going to get the most out of my business, the most out of myself? How can I create a personal brand that's second to none, as well as a business brand that's second to none? And, talking about what I was a minute ago about the New Patient Group clients and the success they've had during COVID, that doesn't mean that they're all happy. What I mean by that is there's a lot of them that have had personal people or people in their personal lives affected by COVID. They may even look at their numbers, and even though they grew 10%, they're not happy with that 10%. And it's hard for them. One of the things with New Patient Group clients that I've noticed is that we attract a very specific type of mindset as a client. We don't get that many people that don't understand that being the best clinician in town is not going to grow them. Now, of course, that's part of the overall puzzle, part of the overall success story, but it's only one piece of that puzzle now. Our clients don't really need to be convinced of that. They are very forward-thinking just as individuals and human beings. And that's why I'm so proud of all of them, and that's why it's very hard for them if they grow 10%, even though that's 5 times the national average in orthodontics. 5 times. I mean, if you grow 10%, you're almost at 5 times the national growth average. That's how flatline the industry is. So we have a lot of them during COVID that grew 10%, and they look at that and they're like, darn, last year I grew 27, that type of thing. And you got to tell them, you got to say, look, you should be so proud of yourself for the year that you've had from a growth standpoint, from a personal growth standpoint, if you ever want something to truly challenge yourself from how good of a CEO and a leader you are, have a COVID situation come in. I mean, it's challenged all of us, from CEO to CEO speaking out there, or if you're an office manager listening, or whoever, if you're reps out there. I mean, we've all been challenged this year in ways, I think, mentally and physically that we've never been challenged before. And I think that a lot of you out there should give yourself a lot of credit. If your business, even if you're flatline this year, if you are a few percentage points down, that's okay. I mean, this has been a crazy, crazy year. What you need to learn from it, though, is that you always have to be committed to doing things differently. And don't ever relax ever again for the rest of your life growing your business, because you never know. And you can't anticipate a COVID situation happening. I think it's easier to do it now that it's happened. But you never know who's going to open up across the street from you. You never know, just because you're doing great today doesn't mean you're going to be great tomorrow. You never know what in the world is going to happen 5 minutes from now. So all you can do is control what you can control. And part of that is always being an innovative thinker and changing and thinking ahead of the game. And it just sets you up for more success when a COVID situation happens, because there's so many people. And again, like I was saying, I see it with the new patient group clients more than I see it with, if you're on a sales call and you ask somebody, what's your growth look like this year, and they're down 15%. We'll get some people say, I'm actually happy with that, or I'm down 30%. Their mindset, a lot of times, either they don't have the mindset or they haven't adopted it quite yet because they're not a new patient group client. Because it's funny hearing people who aren't MPG clients say that they're happy with 15 or 20% reduction in their growth. Meanwhile, you have the new patient group clients saying they're aggravated that they only grew 10 or 12% during a COVID year. So there's a mindset disconnect, but that's what I love about the MPG clients. It's also what I love whenever I speak to people. If you can adapt that mindset, is that no matter how bad it is, you should be at 10% growth. And it's a direct reflection on how you have your business set up to sustain and grow through difficult times. And part of that is shooting exceptional content. And that's what I want to leave you in the theme today, in these stories I'm going to tell. That's what I want to leave you with, because there's never been a more difficult time ever, to get your brand out there. And it's why we talk inevitably about why it's so critical that you reverse your brand and that you partner your brand with other companies that have already achieved it. You hear me talk about Invisalign all the time, and how we teach it is that the Invisalign lab bill, it's not a lab bill, it's a marketing fee. Those are dollars that they spent on your behalf to generate somebody that has orthodontic brand awareness or orthodontic just awareness, and they go and they actively enter in the Invisalign search term. They're not entering in your practice's name. They're entering in the Invisalign search term. So therefore, if you know how to do it right, and content is a big part of that, we're gonna talk about that a little bit today, is coming up in those searches with content that's relevant to the search. If they type in Invisalign virtual consultation, your practice must have content around the Invisalign virtual consultation. If you don't, you're not going to come up, or you're going to be less likely to come up. Even more, if you do come up, whenever they click on you, the content is not relevant to their search, so your conversion goes down. I always tell a story. It's like if you're shopping for shoes and you type that into Google or YouTube, and then you click on a link and it talks to you about shirts and hats. Well, it doesn't mean the business can't earn, it doesn't mean the company can earn your business. They're just far less likely to. You're likely to leave that site. So when they click on your stuff, the content has to be relevant. So it's very important to piggyback off these companies out there that have created the brand on your behalf, because competition is at such a high level, meaning that it's harder for you to create anywhere near the brand awareness that some of these other companies have already created. And the theme there is that I want you to go into next year thinking about this differently. We hear this a lot. As a matter of fact, I got off a call today a little bit earlier with a company that is thinking about using our digital marketing services with New Patient Group. And they've heard great things. They're excited, blah, blah, blah. But the question was asked, how quickly are we going to see results? And I kind of chuckled, not making fun of them. It's just we get asked that a lot. And so much of it is on, and this is what I told him. I said, look, so much of this is on you and your team. Whether you're trying to accomplish digital marketing, training your people, running your business right, it all falls back on culture and whether or not you do it, how quickly you do it, how engaged you are, how good of the content it is. Do you meet with our director of marketing, Haley Jeffrey, consistently? Like, do you see value in those meetings? A lot of this is on you. And that's what we tell people, because there's no false promises on our end. It's not like, oh yeah, you're going to see this explosion in 3 months or 6 months just to get the business. We're not like that. And that's why our reputation, I believe, outside of the fact we get the job done and we care, our reputation is that we don't overpromise and underdeliver. Like, we let people know, look, it's hard work. That's what you're living in a competitive marketplace as an entrepreneur. You have to obsess over your business just as much as you do your practice, hence clinical skills. You have to do the same thing when you're running the business. And if you do, you're going to be fine. No matter how competitive it is, you will be fine. That message to people in school, do I own my own business? Do I work for somebody? Whatever it is, you'll be fine as long as you commit to things that 99% of people just won't, or they'll commit to it for a week and then quit. And that's what I'm telling. This is what I'm telling this person in the sales call, is that you commit to this stuff and the content, you'll win, because your competitors just won't. And it's hard for people. And that's why I wanted to tell these stories, because if you're trying to grow your business, whether you're at 2 million, you're trying to get to 3, you're at 10 million, trying to get to 15, or you're at $1 and you're trying to get to 50,000. There are stepping stones that you all take that are a little bit different depending on where your business model and your business journey, your business story happens to be at that given time. Part of that model is understanding that you never know what's around the corner. You never know who's listening and you never know who's watching. So let me tell you the story that happened to me just last week in Dr. Skopak's practice. So I'm in and hey buddy, how you doing? We had a lot of fun when I was there. When I got there, so the premise of my visit this past time is we're working on the TC exam and the doctor exam exclusively. Like, we're teaching some sales fundamentals. We're doing role plays from morning to afternoon. Like I told, I told Dr. Skopak, I told Carla, the TC, look, my goal is for you I want both of you wanting to punch me by the end of the day, right? We're going to do it this many times. And it was a very successful trip, implemented a lot of stuff. And look, just off topic, TC's listening, doctors listening, and especially doctors, this is a shift in mindset, because should you listen to other doctors in terms of how you should do your doctor exam? Absolutely. So I am not sitting here saying, don't listen. Of course you should. But there's a real, from the time you're in school to the time you're out and through your whole career journey, there's a real disconnect on what you're actually doing in the doctor exam. And it's a sales process. All right. It's a sales process. I realize that's a dirty word with some of the people who may not listen a lot, but for all of you who listen a lot and or your clients, there's no reason to be scared of that word when you understand the definition of just understanding how to ethically educate in a way that places more value on what they can spend their money on. Part of that doctor process is understanding the basic and very advanced sales fundamentals that come with every word you speak. That you should learn from people that obviously know how to apply it to your exam room process, but the people are experts in sales, consumer psychology, et cetera, et cetera. All right. And that's what we're working on at Dr. Skopak's practice. Now, there was this doctor, she's a resident in ortho school right now, Leslie. And hey, Leslie, how you doing? And the reason why I know Leslie's listening is the story I'm about to tell you. All right. So Dr. Skopak has started to build not only a business brand, but his personal brand as well. So there are people reaching out to him saying, look, you obviously are successful. I'd like to spend a day with you. Now, how that's happened is his YouTube content that he's doing. He also posts on LinkedIn. So he's building his brand there. He's creating great YouTube content. And over the course of time, he's been with us 3+ years now. And over the course of time, he has now started to generate people contact him and say, hey, look, I'm interested in spending a day with you. Can I do it? And, of course that answer is going to be yes. I mean, you're going to learn invaluable information when you spend that day at Dr. Skopak that you're absolutely not going to learn in school. Matter of fact, and a lot of the things I was teaching the other day when I was in his office is probably the complete opposite of anything anyone's going to learn in school. And it goes back to the people that are teaching you in school, basic and advanced sales fundamentals. They don't know sales fundamentals. Most of them don't understand the consumer psychology that wraps, and it's not a criticism. It's not a we know more, it's not. It's just understanding the importance of you need to learn from both, and you need to decide which one of those fundamentals can you combine into the business model you want to run as a practice, as a business. So at the beginning, so Leslie, we're there, and we meet each other and stuff, and she doesn't know me from Adam, right, at the time. So whether or not the things I'm teaching, is she gonna go grasp them and use them, tell her fellow students? You could tell maybe a little skeptical, right? I don't know this guy, blah blah blah. So the story's kind of twofold. One, it's the Dr. Skopak is committed to the content, and it's why the brand is being created, and why now residents are reaching out to him as their, he's the leader. Like, they look up to him. I want to learn from this guy. This is the type model that I want to run whenever I open up my own practice, or I go work for somebody else while I'm learning the ropes before I go open up my own practice. So a couple hours goes by, and we're taking a break. We're back in the lunchroom, and it's Dr. Skopak, Leslie, and myself. And we're having a conversation. Somehow it comes up, and I think Dr. Skopak had asked me, how did the podcast with Chris Benson go the other day? Or maybe I mentioned that it went well. I can't remember exactly how. But, and hey, Chris, if you're listening, hey, buddy. But just let everybody know, so season 4, next season, episode 2 is going to be with Chris Benson. So we have episode 1, January 1st at 8 a.m. that's going to launch on our YouTube station and all the podcast channels. And that's the Ready, Shoot, Aim episode to kick off your year right. And then episode 2 of season 4 is going to be Chris Benson, little State of the Union, what the future looks like, things that you're going to do, should do to sustain the success or create the success that we all know you can have. So we're talking about that in the back room, and Leslie goes, wait a minute, you have a podcast? I said, yeah. She goes, where can I find it? I say, well, it's the New Patient Group podcast. And she kind of hesitates, and she goes, wait a minute, NPG? Like, you're that Brian Wright. And behold is that her and a lot of her classmates have been listening to the New Patient Group podcast. They know me, not in person, but over through the microphone. And she's like, oh man, I'm going to text one of my fellow students. He's not going to believe this. And I'd asked her, could you ask that person where they even heard about the podcast? And, from that moment on, for the rest of the day, obviously now she feels like she knows, likes, and trusts me, that we teach that every ounce of effort you put into your business has to get people to know, like, and trust you. If you accomplish that, you win. All right. So now I've gone from a stranger, should I trust this guy, to somebody that, now every word I'm saying, she's hanging on. Right. And it also has validated everything I've been teaching up until that time, because she's been listening to podcasts. Oh, you've been inspiring us to open up our own practice instead of work for a corporation. We'd love it, blah, blah, blah. And here I am blushing because, do I have credentials? Have I been successful? Yes, I'm proud of that, only because it just means that I've helped other people throughout my career. But I'm not the type guy that, let's talk about me and, so I'm blushing. But at the same time, and I told them this, they knew, and I think I've told 30 people this story since it happened. It was so freaking cool that I can't even put words to it, because it's really hard to be the CEO of a company, the founder of the company, managing partner of another company, consult for multiple companies, speak for multiple companies, also coach a bunch of clients, be a husband, be a great dad, keep everybody happy, and also shoot a ton of content. Like, it's not easy. And you can make mistakes. You know, it's one of those things where if all was on your plate was to be a great CEO, the likelihood of you being a great CEO is increased if you remove all the other things that come with it that I'm doing on a daily basis. This is not to toot the horn. It's not complaining. I love it. When it's not crazy, I'm not the person that can sit and relax. So I want it this way, and I've tried to design it this way. So it's not a complaint, but there are times where you can have no different than all of you out there, where you're shooting content. Maybe you don't see the new patients from it yet, or you're wondering, when is it going to work? Well, the reality of the situation here is you don't know, but you never know whose life you're impacting. You never know who's watching and who's listening to this stuff. Here is a girl that I met totally out of the blue, talking about a small world, right? Totally out of the blue, that has been following me and listening to this information, and it's been helping her and her fellow students for a long time. And numero uno, it's awesome just because it's helping people, right? But also because I have the same thoughts that run through a lot of your brains. Is it working? Is there anybody listening? What's it doing? And I know it works, but at the same time, you just don't know who's on the other end of this microphone or who's on the other end of the YouTube station. So when you get this information fed to you, it's the coolest thing in the world because it validates what we teach. And what I've been teaching entrepreneurs for years all over the world is that if you exist in a competitive marketplace, you're a restaurant and there's 8 Italian restaurants in your community. If you're an orthodontist and there's multiple orthodontic choices in your community. If you're a dentist and there's a ton of dentists. If you're a plumber and there's a ton of plumbers. There are very specific things that will inevitably make you successful that we teach, regardless of how much competition there is. And one of those is shooting content. No matter how hard it is, you got to do it. Well, Brian, I don't know what to shoot. Who cares? Shoot something. Like, that's my response. Shoot something, because anything, as long as you're dressed and not drunk, anything is good content. Okay? As long as you're dressed and not drunk, anything is good content. Now, I say that somewhat kidding, but I'm being serious, meaning that you can't always worry about what your hair looks like. You can't worry about your makeup. You can't worry about how you sound. If you look at our videos on the New Patient Group YouTube station from 8 or 9 years ago, I sound like a total idiot. Like, I go back and I'm like, wow, we've learned a lot on how we articulate things. But it didn't stop us from doing it, nor should it stop you. So whenever you bust your hump to do things that other people won't, there's a lot of times there's a delay in the success you inevitably will have from it or achieve from it. It's not easy. It is not easy committing to content. It is not easy doing these things. So when you get rewarded in the way I did the other day, it makes you feel special. It makes you feel that everything that you teach other people, it validates, and I already know that it works. But when you're in the daily grind, no different than you guys, the daily grind, employees texting you, things you're doing inside the mouth, all the stuff, the whirlwind, it's hard. And it's nice to be patted on the back every once in a while and have people show appreciation because it validates. And like I said, I know this stuff works. It's what I've done with all my companies to make them successful without advertising. So what we're teaching you, we see it working with you all. But there's a timetable that comes with that. Some of you, it works in 6 months. Some of you, it takes 2 years. Some of you, it takes a couple days. Some of you, it takes 3 years. But inevitably, it always works if you're willing to have the vision of what needs to happen and stick with it. So I get this validation, right? Makes me feel all good and special. And I just keep telling the story because, again, it's funny, whenever you have a podcast, this is not one of the stories I was going to tell today, but this happened. So it was either last year or the year before. I forget. I spoke at something called the Invisalign Casino Nights, run by the East Coast team. And they invite me out there to speak. And it was a great event. It was awesome. Like one of the walls gets knocked down and then it becomes a casino. People gamble. It's really a neat night. And I get invited by the team out there. The feedback that night was best Invisalign casino night we've ever had. Speaker was great. And it's good. It validates what you want or what I want so bad. And that is to get out there and help as many people as you possibly can. You don't create a podcast if you don't want to help people. Like, you certainly don't do it for the money. I can tell you that. So all of these things, but the Invisalign casino night, the reason why I bring this up is that when I get there, there's a couple Invisalign reps that are avid New Patient Group listeners. Like, every episode, they take notes, they go into their practices with it, and they treat me like I'm some kind of celebrity whenever I show up. It's kind of funny when you have a podcast. It's like it puts you in. It's kind of like if you have a book, you write a book, right? It makes you the expert. Well, like with this Leslie girl, you could see her body language change, and you could see with the Invisalign reps that day at the Invisalign casino night or that evening. It's like, oh my God, I'm talking to Brian Wright. He has a and it makes me laugh because, again, I'm not that person, right? But it goes back to, if you're willing to shoot the content, you're willing to commit to the content, it makes you the expert, even if you're not. And I would like to think that I am, but I'm not. Oh yeah, I'm Mr. Expert back here. I'm just not that guy. I let the content speak for itself, the relationships, things like that. But for all of you, whether it be you want to be the clinical expert and you want doctors to recognize you as that, as well as the consumer. You want to be the best experience in town non-clinically. You want to be hopefully a combination of both. Well, you know what? The only way people are ever going to know that's the case is if you tell them. And you shoot the content in order to tell them. And you know what? You may run into 2 years or more where you don't necessarily see the results. And that is why it's so difficult. But it's also why every single time that you get a new patient from it, you get people say, hey, look, your content's great. Or you get a situation like this Leslie, the ortho resident, say what she said. It just makes everything you do worth it. And I'm not saying go out and start a podcast. It'd be cool if you did. I'm happy to teach you if you want to do that. It doesn't mean that you have to shoot 9,000 videos a week. It's not what it is. But it is about the mindset of you got to create the content if you want to be successful in a competitive marketplace. You wonder why you have stagnated growth. You wonder why you only have 5% growth. You wonder why you have 20% decline. Well, go look on your YouTube station and you tell me what you're doing different than all the other people in your area. Look at your website. What are you doing differently than all the other people in your area? Look at your social media channels. What are you doing differently than all the other people in your area? Look at how you run your business. What are you doing differently than all the other people in your area? The training of your employees from A to Z. How do they have a unique skill set that nobody else in your community, any business, forget orthodontics, dentistry, plastic surgery, any business, what unique skill set do you train your employees on consistently that no other business will commit to in your area? And you better have a definitive answer for every single one of those on how you're unique, innovative, and different. Because that's how you achieve growth in a competitive marketplace. It's like one of these things where it's very easy, but very difficult. It's easy because everything I just said, if you have definitive answers to it, you win. I don't care how competitive it is, and I don't care how much more you charge than everybody, you win. Now, it may take a while, but you'll win. If you don't have definitive answers in every single thing I just said, you lose. That's what a competitive marketplace does to people. Now, a long time ago, we started this. This New Patient Group's been around about 9 years now. And I used to have this conversation with employees. They would come to me and like, Brian, look, you're shooting all this content. Where's the new clients? Like, I don't, you teach us all this and you say it's worked for you in the past and, we're teaching our clients this, but we don't see it working for ourselves. Like, this is getting frustrating. I think we need to shift the mindset here. And we would have these meetings where I would let everybody know, look, I've got the vision. I see what the vision looks like. I know what things are going to be 5 years from now. 3 years from now? You've got to believe in me. You've got to believe in the vision, and it will become reality. But we don't know when. It's like the statistics we teach practices, right? It's opposed to what other consultants teach. Like what we teach is completely off the wall. Like we basically teach, it's not that you don't focus on production, collections, new patients. Like, of course, you've got to know that data, but that data does not matter. Like those are all the lag measures for all the clients out there listening that you know so well. You can't control lag measures. You can only control lead measures. So what that simply is, what I'm getting back to, why I got off on that tangent, is the scale. Like that's how I used to tell the employees. I'm like, look, if you do all the right things, you work out every single day, 20 minutes. You eat the right food. You still cannot control when the weight scale is going to go down. Or if your goal is not necessarily to lose weight, it's just to maybe tone up, rip up the muscles. You do not know the day where you're going to look in the mirror and go, I can see the difference. You don't know. And for person A, that could be 3 months. And for person B, it could be 2 years. Hell, it could be more. You literally cannot control the scale. But most people's attention is on the scale, which is why weight loss, not a lot of people are successful with it, and growing a business, you've got your attention on the wrong things. You have your attention on things that you cannot control. You can talk about them all you want, but you cannot control them. And it's critical to understand this, because when I'm talking to my employees, that's the analogy. I'm like, look, guys, we are doing the right things. We're reducing our calories. We're working out harder than anybody else. Blood, sweat, and tears. Our weight scale just has not gone down yet. Because you want to talk about competition, try being in this industry. And that's why I'm so obsessed over our customers, is literally our goal is to do such a great job that literally they will never think about leaving. And if they do, they'll come crawling back. And it's all because we're obsessed with their results. And I'm telling my employees this early on in this business because, this was I don't want to call it a struggle, but man, oh man, we went through some hard times as a company. Early on, it was pretty good. And then you run into this barrier where nobody knows who the heck you are. Like, try to take a company from nothing in a national. Imagine you have your practice and all of a sudden you wanted to take it national. Or you wanted to create a national brand for yourself and you just wanted it's a daunting task that takes a lot of effort in doing things differently, which is exactly what we teach. So I'm telling you all this because I'm leading into the second story that I want to tell today. So we're doing all this, committing to all this content, getting our voice out there. Employees are frustrated. They don't see it working. I'm saying follow the vision. In my mind, at the same time, I'm going, it'd be nice if all of this work kind of paid off soon. I don't want to go another 3 years. I'm never going to, you can only have your employees buy into something they don't necessarily see working for so long, right? No different than in sports. Like, you can buy into the philosophy and the game plan, and it sounds nice and blah, blah, blah. That can only stick for so long without seeing victories. If you have a season or two of losing, okay, that's all for the greater good. You better start winning in season 3. It's the same thing in the business, and with employees buying into it, it's the same thing. So all of a sudden, one day, after all these years of shooting content, I find out in an event that I'm at that many high-ups with Invisalign have been watching our YouTube content for some time. Now, here's a $3 billion publicly traded company. And here we are as a company, not even in dentistry or orthodontics 8-9 years ago. So we're a few years in now with busting our hump, shooting content over and over, good content. It's educational. It's a different way of thinking. I always tell people, I think that when we started this company, a lot of our messaging now, the industry's catching up with. Consumer, I've been teaching the word consumer, not a patient, for 15, 20 years. Now you hear a lot of people using it. The virtual consult we've been teaching ever since New Patient Group started, and we used to do one back when I was CEO of the plastic surgery organization. So we've been doing the virtual for a long time. The content we've been doing, different terminologies using inside the practice environment. A lot of this stuff, the industry is catching up to where a lot of that stuff is normal. A lot of times in the past, we used to get people get mad at us. They're not a consumer, that's a patient. That's a disrespect to our profession. And I say, look, it's not meant to disrespect anything. It's just, let's look at the facts. And we would explain why we call it that. And even I think most people that got frustrated, it still made sense. But all of a sudden I find out, high-level people with Invisalign, with Align Technology, have been following the content. And that to this day has been a big, wasn't the only reason, but it's been a big driver of why we have such a close partnership. Look, 9 years ago when we started this company, we fell in the lap with Invisalign by accident. And I tell the story all the time, but many of you know it, is that our very first client we ever had, I went in, I implemented my 3 pillars that I've taught entrepreneurs all over the world. It's what a lot of famous companies use. It's what a lot of famous entrepreneurs, they look at these 3 things: business innovation, leadership and culture, employee performance, and digital marketing. It's like, how do you do those at a very unique level, very innovative level, and combine them into a story? That's how they do it. So that's what we did in the very first client we ever had. It was the very first practice I had ever been on the dental ortho side. Guy skyrockets his Invisalign numbers, and that's how, Invisalign rep comes out, congratulates him. Next thing you know, he's thanking me. He refers business, and just another one grows, and another one grows, and another one grows. So the partnership has technically taken place, and this was all without us even talking about Invisalign, which is the number one way to grow an Invisalign practice, is you teach them how to run the business in a very innovative way. You train your employees on skill sets that the hourly employee does not come from the factory with, and you do it repetitively, and you do digital marketing in a very unique way. You combine it to tell a story, and no holes in the boat, or the holes in the boat are lessened, and the Invisalign numbers go nuts. It's not rocket science, but at the same time, to many people, it is. Because a lot of times you say that, and no matter how many times you say it, people still want to jam Invisalign down your throat, thinking that's the way you're going to grow the Invisalign numbers. And it's not. It just flat out is not. Of course, the Invisalign piece of it is part of it. But the non-Invisalign stuff always grows a practice in a business far more than the Invisalign stuff. And I talk about that only because, here's a situation where from day one, we accidentally kind of fell into the partnership, but officially now it's been about 4 years. And one of the top drivers was me committing to a vision, but not seeing that vision really come true for years. And having employees doubt it. And then boy, oh boy, when the day the employees started to see it work, you want to talk about total buy-in, total trust. Wow. And this is what employees will try to do to you all out there, is they'll try to get you to stop it. It's not working. It's hard work. We don't have time for this. Don't feel like doing it. We have more things to do. We already don't have enough time. How are we going to do this? All these are translation of, I am trying to get my leader to quit. I see it all the time. And you have 2 choices. My choice was no, I know this is going to work. We're going to stick with it. They knew that I meant business. They saw it eventually work, and woo, it's been up and up and up ever since. But see, it's such a feel-good thing in a way for me personally, because we all struggle. Everybody struggles. Like a lot of times when you hear motivational speakers, you've come to one of my events, you've seen me speak. You listen to the podcast. You listen to our YouTube videos, posts on social media. The perception, and that's why a lot of times social media, it sucks in a way that it's a false perception a lot of times, right? It's the necessary evil that we all live in. You either embrace it or you go out of business. But it's a false perception of, we're perfect on the New Patient Group side. No, we're far from perfect. What makes us a damn good company is that any problems that arise, we fix them. And we're constantly trying to streamline our business model to make sure that the clients don't know that we're growing. That's one of the things many of you out there listening, I know appreciate about us, is that my goal is to make every client we have feel like they're the only client we have. And that is hard to do. And I tell this is that one of the reasons why I think most companies suck, and I really believe that most companies suck from a experience standpoint, the results, whatever their service product they sell, most companies you don't remember in a memorable fashion and go tell people about. Why? It's hard. It's an always constant adjustment internally to make sure the client, no matter how much you grow, still gets the same service and quality as when you were once. No different trying to scale a restaurant, right? How many restaurants that have 100 locations are good? There's not many. And if you go to the original one, we have the original Carrabba's here in Houston. It's the only one left that the Carrabba's family is still involved with. If you go to that one, the menu, the food quality, the experience, the aesthetics, everything is better. The chain ones are hit or miss. Most of them are terrible. Some are okay. None of them are good. But the point is it's damn hard to scale while still offering the same great recipe, let's call it, as you did when you were just one location. But it can be done, but you just have to obsess over your customers. And all of this goes back into what business do you want to be? Do you believe in the vision of shooting content? And that's why I wanted to do, I wanted this to hopefully be impactful to where you can go, you know what? I'm doing content today. Maybe I don't see the result that I would want, but you never know who's watching. I never know who's listening. It could be a resident at school. Maybe you're able to change and impact their lives. Like I hope Dr. Skopak and I did with this Leslie girl that I've used today. And again, hi, Leslie. I know you. Now I know the story. Now I know you're listening. And hi to all your classmates. And I definitely want to do, we talked about, I definitely want to do something, for all the students. It'd be great to do some kind of event. We'll think of something. You never know whose life you're impacting. As a clinician, it owns your own practice. Inevitably your goal is to get in new patients, of course, but in the process, you never know. Like I said, it may be a student. It may be somebody else. It may be somebody with no confidence, and all of a sudden they see your video that inspires them to get their teeth straightened, or get some other kind of dental work done, or get plastic surgery done for a more confident, beautiful you. Like, you never know who's out there. You never know whose life you're impacting or lives you're impacting, and it's all worth it, and it's all a necessity. You have to throw every excuse in the world on why you can't do it. You have to flush it down the toilet. You've got to get your employees on board with it, and you've got to understand that it will take time. One of the things that I always tell is one of the reasons why these diet pill commercials or companies, one of the reasons why they make millions is because they sell people on the instant gratification. 30 pounds in 6 months, 10 pounds in a week. Skincare companies, I see it because I was in plastic surgery and I'm still relatively involved in the industry. I see it with all these, Jennifer Aniston comes on a commercial talking about Aveeno skincare, which is a crappy product, I think. But it's the point is that they see her and, oh my God, it's going to make me look like her. And the next thing you know, they make sales. Or the skincare product that, put this on at night, your wrinkles will go away in a week. It's all a bunch of crap. It's not what you may want to hear. But the reality of the situation is you can do whatever you want to do. You can become whoever you want to become. And your business can absolute dominate in your community. If you commit to a lot of things. One, though, is understanding you must commit to content. And the rest of this year, I want you to be thinking about it. And I want you to think how hopefully impactful these stories were, because there's plenty more that I could talk to you about. Plenty more. But I want this to be an impactful situation for all of you. To understand going into 2021, if you want to survive, if you want to grow 10, 15, 20% plus every year for the rest of your life, if you want to thrive during difficult times that arise when none of us can control, you've got to shoot content. You have to have a robust YouTube station. You've got to have a robust social media channels. You've got to have a website that converts, that looks better and unique than everybody. But the main point of this today is you've got to reflect on what are you going to do to set yourself up on January 1st when that new year hits, to have a video or 2 or 3 done every single week. Sounds like a lot of work, but in essence, it's not. A lot of work is you getting into the habit of doing it. That's the work. Once you're doing it, it's no different than going to the gym. It's hard to get your butt there, but once you're there and you're there consistently and you get in the habit, it becomes easy. It's getting into the habit that's hard. It's no different than this. Getting into the habit is hard. Then, once you're in the habit, then you've got to make sure that you have a vision of what the future looks like and understand if you buy into knowing that content will help your business, you've got to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes until you see the weight scale go down. Until you have an impactful story to tell, like I'm telling today, or stories. And you all can do it. Selfie, if you're watching on YouTube, selfie style, here's a video, boom, done. Shoot a little selfie style video to patients, welcome video. TC's out there, a little custom welcome video, text it out to the new patients. Stuff about why people should feel comfortable during the COVID times coming in to your practice, why they should buy from you, why you're the best clinician, why the doctor you choose matters. So many different endless ideas. And that's part of what we do with our clients is we help you with those ideas. We help you hold your hand, especially until you get it on your own. And we're still there for guidance. But sometimes the hand holding becomes a little bit less and less because you get the hang of it. Once you learn how to walk yourself, you don't need someone holding your hand as much. Especially when you learn how to run yourself. There's stages in anything in life. And I want so badly for you all to go, you know what? I want to create impactful stories in people's lives. It's the coolest feeling knowing you're helping people. And again, like I said, sometimes as an entrepreneur, you're kind of out in an island on your own. You're not perfect. God knows I make mistakes. You have a million things on your plate. It's nice to know, even though, again, you kind of know it, but it's nice to hear feedback like that. It makes it all worth it. And that's what you all have to remember, is that you are impacting lives. As a clinician, you are changing lives. You're making people more confident. You're helping them get jobs because they're more confident. You're changing their appearance for a more beautiful you, right? Which helps them, be happier, more confident, jobs, more money. So if you buy into this whole philosophy of, I want to impact more people, and that's what it's about. It's not about new patients. It's not about starts. It's not about sales. It's not about production. It drives me nuts when people talk about that stuff. It's how badly do you want to impact people's lives? Me? I'm so obsessed with it that I literally want to do it for every person on the globe. Is that possible? Of course not. But that's what I strive to do. There's nothing like it, knowing that you've impacted somebody's life positively. And if that's what you can get yourself to buy into, that should be enough to get you off your butt and onto camera starting January 1st, heck, starting today for that matter, and everything beyond. Because that is your journey. That is your first step to impacting more lives, which of course means more new patients, more starts, et cetera, et cetera. It's hard. It's not easy. But once you're in the habit, it is. And I hope you take these stories today and you say, look, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to shoot content for my business. And if you need direction, that's what we're here for. That's what our white glove service, our private client services are for. And you need to say, look, I'm going to create the most exceptional online experience for people. And that may be another doctor. It may be a resident in school. It could be a patient. Hopefully it's all the above. Make a difference in people's lives. And the reward will be you growing your business a lot in 2021. A lot in 2021. Now, again, the first episode next season is going to talk about implementation. Now you got to do it, right? So I think the two will help tell a story. Look, it's been a weird year. My thoughts and prayers are with all of you out there, the New Patient Group and Right Chat clients out there. Your loyalty means the world to us and to my family, to all of our employees, contractors as well with New Patient Group and Right Chat. It means a lot to us. We love you all. It's so awesome to help. It means a lot to us. So every single day we wake up trying to get better, wanting to get better, because we know it goes back to impacting your life in a positive manner. It means a lot to us. And we hope all that means just as much to you in how you run your business for your respective clientele, because it should. That's how you should view it. That's how you should view it. And like I said, it's been a crazy year. Some of you had great revenue years. Some of you didn't out there. Wherever you're at in your business journey, though, know that what I talked about today is going to help propel you to the next level. There's advanced things that you can do content-wise, but no matter where you are, all the listeners out there, if you want to impact more lives and grow your career, your business, if you're a rep out there and you want to help more practices, it's all about content. I've said it for a long time to the Invisalign reps, OrthoFi reps, other companies we work with out there. This right here, the power of video, is a strong. We're going to talk about this at some point in season 4, maybe season 5, is just the power of video. If you're watching on the YouTube station right now, I'm holding up my camera. And that right there, I mean, if you have 100 practices, 50 practices, 300 practices that you oversee, there's no chance you're ever going to get into any of those enough to make the difference you could make if you just oversaw one. So why in the world would you not once a week or every morning create a text thread with all the doctors in it, create your own little mini mastermind as a rep, shoot out a morning video or a weekly video. This is what I want you to accomplish this week, or create, if they're on different levels. I always talk about the example of, about Dr. Boschkin. Hey, buddy. And David Walt. Hey, buddy, as well. So Dr. Walt and David and Dr. Boschkin are ones that, we spoke at the Invisalign practice development workshops together. And they're at a very high level. And sometimes, as awesome as they both are, when you're at a very, very high level and you're teaching those things to people that are just trying to get started, it actually creates an intimidation effect, actually keeps them from going and doing it because it's so more advanced than what they're ready for. And it's not a bad thing at all. The people that are just starting need to hear those advanced things. But when you have an ongoing relationship with somebody, you've got to be able to teach according to what their next step of their journey is. You've got to get them to that next step, and then you involve and you implement a whole nother level of things to get them to go up again. It's hard. It's not easy. But I bring that up because from a rep standpoint, you can use this content. You can create, maybe you have doctors that are whatever, they're top 1% of the nation with Invisalign. And then you've got other ones that are at a lower level than ones that are just getting started. Well, those need to be different text threads. But my whole point of this is shoot content. Get your face on video in the morning. Say, hey, doctors, this is Rep Brian, and here are 2 things, or 1 thing, it would probably be better, that I want you to concentrate and get done this week. And I'll check in with you next Monday. Bam. Text that out to your thread. It's got to be under a minute or it's not going to text out. And boom. You don't think that you're going to impact more lives by being in front of them every day or once a week? Because you can't do that when you oversee that many practices. You know that. Shoot content, and it works no matter what job. If you have your own business, you work for somebody else, it doesn't matter. Find a way to make it impactful for you, impactful for others, change the lives of others. And we're going to get through this crazy year. It's finally over. Probably going to continue for a while into 2021, but together we're going to get through it. Just like anything else, I look at it as a positive. It's just another obstacle, because there's constant, as an entrepreneur, there's one obstacle after another. And that's okay. You got to get through it. Love your families over this Christmas holiday. Spend plenty of time with them. Get rejuvenized for your business mindset kickoff for January 1st. I hope this will plant some seeds in your mind. Start thinking about some content you can shoot, some Christmas content. That'll be a good way for you to start. Some New Year's content. That'll be a great way for you to start once the new year hits. Get some ideas, relax, re-energize your brain. Let's get through this together. Let's get 2021 started off in a great way. Love all of you. Thanks for your loyalty, all the podcast listeners out there. And until season 4, we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.